Doflamingo's Jolly Roger has been smiling at us for over 700 chapters, and with the confirmation of who the sun god Nika really is, we can combine these two things to finally discover what the will of D truly is and how Nika actually created the will of D. This thing, no longer rubber. It's literally Jesus incarnate, except with fire powers. And he's bendy. And he can't swim. Except I guess Jesus doesn't need to know how to swim. He can just walk on water. But regardless, this drops a lot of clues. And I think we can actually begin to piece together what the fuck the will of D actually is. A super weird place to start. We're going to start with Doflamingo's Jolly Roger. It's a smiling face, except it's crossed off. Just weird at first, you know, you don't really think about it. Just like, yeah, Doflamingo, he doesn't like smiles, he's fucking evil. What else do you expect? I think this goes deeper. He was originally a celestial dragon, so he definitely knows something we don't. And I think this actually shows his direct opposition to Nika. And as we found out in chapter 1044, Nika is all about smiles and liberation. Doflamingo stands directly opposing that, so of course he's going to take the smiley face that Nika's probably known for and cross it out. He doesn't like Nika, but keep in mind he probably knows something we don't. We'll get to that in a bit. Now, let's see here. Law's Jolly Roger. Now, as most people see, it's literally the same, except what, it has 6 spokes coming out of it, and it has the smiley face, except what's this? No cross. Interesting. This is a reference to Corazon. You know, he goes, hey, smiley face. You know, that's just Corazon. He's the light to Doflamingo's dark. He's the light to Law. Very smiley, happy guy. Except that's probably not all there is to it. Now, he doesn't care for Law, okay? Until he learns about his D. Initial. He immediately fucking grabs him. He's like, yo, what the fuck did you say your name was? And he's protecting him. He immediately starts to protect him. He goes and tries to cure Law of his amber-led disease. And wants to protect him. He wants to help provide for the will of D. And this is because Corazon wants to see the celestial dragons fall. He is like his father. He doesn't believe it on that shit. He took after homing Corazon, Doflamingo's father. Well, Doflamingo obviously is the naughty boy. He is. The D clan, as stated many times in this series, is the enemy of God. But what exactly does this mean? Well, gods in this context are seemingly referencing the celestial dragons. The royals up on the red line hold the highest status in the entire world. Now, we can generalize the D clan and say they are the enemy of false gods. Obviously, the celestial dragons are not real gods, however, they just have an insanely high social standing that they like to be perceived as gods to the rest of the world. But celestial dragons, they're just one of many false gods in the One Piece world. Let's flash back to earlier One Piece and talk about Enel for a second. Now, Skypia is the first arc where theocracy is dove into. The god this land operates under is Enel, a false deity who obtains godlyhood by inflicting fear among the citizens of Skypia using his ridiculous devil fruit abilities. When Luffy confronts him, it just so happens that the devil fruits match up perfectly, making Enel's attacks completely null against Luffy. Due to his rubber body, Nami immediately refers to him as Enel's natural enemy. Okay? Now, wait for it, pause. We can also say that's God's natural enemy, okay? Now, the irony of this scene is also now apparent with chapter 1044, since Luffy's an actual god, and Enel is the false god. See? connecting. It's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle. Now, let's bring it back to Doflamingo. Doflamingo was one of the celestial dragons, the self-proclaimed gods of the One Piece world. Now, these people clearly aren't gods. It's even stated by Don Quixote homing Doflamingo's father that they are just humans. Luffy is the true god, and he fights against Doflamingo's false god, and also Enel's false god. Luffy don't like gods. At least fake gods. Now, we're talking a lot. We're talking a lot about Skypia and Dressrosa. And I think we're going to keep it there. We're not going to go into too many other arcs or anything like that. So, let's compare the two. It is a little weird how similar they are, especially in their antagonists. They're two false gods who rule over a country. Enel is worshipped in fear, while Doflamingo puppeteers his citizens into worship. These are also the two arcs that most people refer to as microcosms, great word, of the One Piece world. Skypia is more of like the One Piece treasure aspect, you know, romance, all that good stuff. Mostly the quest that Luffy wants to be on. And Dressrosa is more so the world government / political aspect of the One Piece world. But now, who are Doflamingo and Enel's macrocosm equivalents? Well, look no further than Emu and Blackbeard. Now, Blackbeard is revered for his devil fruit abilities, just like Enel. Enel's lightning and Blackbeard's Gurgura / darkness / both. They're both looking for an ancient treasure or land. Blackbeard, the One Piece, a big picture, while Enel's looking for fairy birth or the moon, as we real people put it. Now, Emu's status of king puts him above everything. Similar to how Doflamingo was the king of Dressrosa, and also his previous status of being a celestial dragon. He wants that power. They both want power and control over a specific group of people, over a land. Now, Doflamingo even steals his own country to rule over, with a positive exterior and dark underside. Now, we don't know enough about Emu yet, but we can absolutely assume this is similar to how the world government came into power. Dressrosa basically acts as how the overall One Piece world is right now. Positive exterior with dark underside. That's just how the world government operates. Now, we can also assume, because of this connection, as how Doflamingo came into power by stealing a country. This is probably how Emu, or whoever was the king, probably Emu, during the Void Century came into power. But it's no coincidence the two antagonists of the entire world are similar to the two false god antagonists. There are reasons for Oda's writing decisions. He's dipping our toes in the water to get us used to these ideas. And then in one chapter, he completely submerges us. But let's tie this all together here. These four antagonists all have one major thing in common. They are all false gods. And now isn't a real god. He just has the super powerful devil fruit and displays his power to be revered as one. Same with Doflamingo. Doflamingo, very powerful. However, pretends to be a ruler, a good ruler at that, tricking the citizens of Dressrosa into believing, he's a god, basically, and also, of course, of his previous status as a celestial dragon, who, in general, are false gods. They're just people who so happen to found the world government, and their bloodline continued, and they retained their status. Emu, I mean, we don't know much about Emu yet, however, given the empty throne and how he is basically king of the entire world, he is essentially probably going to be a false god. Blackbeard, I feel like, is the one exception people would be a little shaky on. However, we also don't know much about Blackbeard. He probably holds the will of Zebek, which is probably the parallel to the will of Joy Boy, which now Luffy is basically confirmed to have. Luffy is carrying the will of Joy Boy, so Blackbeard definitely carries the will of Zebek, we can assume. Now this also leads to the idea that maybe Blackbeard is going to have a mythological zone god fruit. What god? I am not sure. I'll be honest with you. But maybe he already has it. Maybe there's already another devil fruit he has that is a made-up name, just like Luffy's Gumu Gumu fruit. Maybe the Gura Gura isn't a real fruit. we can't say for sure. But all of Luffy's main antagonists are false gods who seek control over others for their own gain. It makes complete sense after the reveal that Luffy does have the powers of a literal god, and it makes the prior antagonist beatdowns even more satisfying. Now, with this reveal, will Luffy be put up against actual gods? Is this the next step up? Because Kaido, he's the strongest beast, the strongest, I guess, organism. After Luffy beats him, I mean, what's next? Hold on, I'll do the Luffy thing. Up there! The fucking sky where gods live! That would be the next step. Because, of course, this is a shonen. We're going to escalate the battles, correct? Sure. Imu is thought to have a water fruit. But he may be the god of rain. If you remember from Skypia, which I swear every chapter we get is looking more and more like Skypia was insanely important. They mentioned 4 gods, right? They mentioned the god of rain, as I just said, the god of the forest, which I have no idea, the god of the earth, and the god of the sun, Nika. I gotta watch how I say that. Maybe Blackbeard is after one of these other godly zone fruits, but we can't say for certain, but it's something to think about. But there is a clear conflict between Luffy, who is an actual god now, and false gods who abuse their powers by stripping away others' free will. So I think the next step personally would be to fight these real gods who just are shitty gods. Now that we are introducing theology into One Piece very heavily, it seems like. Alright, now, with all this in mind, I think it's fair to assume that one of the true gods, Nika, the sun god, was the original king of the ancient kingdom, and Nika himself passed down the will of D. Now, this sounds crazy, but look, ready? Popular theory, this has already been put out there, the D represents the sideways smile. Well, this is crazy, but I think now after this chapter it makes sense. The smile represents Nika's free spirit, his liberating spirit. It's also possible Nika was the only god of the ancient kingdom, with God Valley being where all the other gods may have resided. Other gods may have been too tyrannical, similar to the false gods we see in the main story in the present day. Now, I believe Nika was against this and decided to create his own kingdom, being the ancient kingdom, where all the D clan members come from. Meanwhile, elsewhere, on God Valley, during the Void Century, the war against gods began. What is now known as the world government today likely wanted to rebel against their gods. By using the ancient weapons, they overtook them. And that is how the world government was born. It was born out of an oppression, and they took back over and became their own worst enemy. What about Nika, right? I don't know what may have happened to Nika, but I'm gonna guess that since the human population was probably not trusting deities and gods at the time, decided to go after Nika anyway, even though he may have been a good ruler and was doing his own thing. We can see this is similar to how Homing and all the Cahote family was treated after they left Mary Joa to live normal human lives. After this giant war, this giant extinction of the gods, the world government said, all right, we're going to cover all this shit up so no one ever brings up gods again and no one thinks about them, and that's for the best. So I think they had good intentions. I think they had great intentions to begin with. However, over time, corruption just comes back again. It's the circle of life. One Piece is turning out to be a very ironic story. First with Luffy being a god, beating up gods. And now with the world government being the good guys who took down the oppressive gods who are now in an oppressive government force. This also may have connections to God Valley. Like I said earlier, God Valley may have been a thing of the past. But we know for certain it was a thing of the more recent past, with Roger and Garp teaming up to defeat something, some fucking battle. Something happened that the government was like, hey, we have to completely fucking cover this up. Now, what else did they cover up? I don't know, a war on gods? I mean, what would they want to cover on an island called God Valley? Might have been a god left behind, or maybe a new god came into birth, but they want to hide any mention of any god for whatever reason. But it's probably to prevent ignorant worship, which is why the world government actively displays their empty throne. On the outside, of course, the world government is controlled by 5 individuals. It's equal power. And to symbolize that not one person controls everything, they have an empty throne. And that's a really cool idea. Besides the fact that that's a fucking lie. Irony. Again, irony. One Piece is a very ironic story. At least that's what it's going to seem to be. It's really funny. But yeah. Jesus fucking Christ. That's a lot. I think it's pretty accurate, though. I think I fucking hit that nail on the head. Closing thoughts here, right? With the unveiling of the sun god Nika and his personality, we can actually finally begin to piece together the truth of the world history. Whether it's 100% accurate or not, we'll have yet to see. The theming is solid, and I believe that has to be the most telling way to predict how a story may go, especially in the hands of an amazing author such as Oda. Themes are the most important part of a story. They hold it structurally, even if you don't consciously recognize it. Themes are definitely going to affect you on a subconscious level on how the story should flow. But we'll have to wait to see for the full picture to be revealed. But until then, it's just a theory. Okay. No, I'm not doing that to end this shit off. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I think this is a really cool theory. This is my first kind of like theory video, so it may not be the best structured. No, my sentences aren't either, clearly. But like and subscribe if you like this shit. I'm starting to do One Piece content, dipping my toes in it, see how I feel, see how you guys like it. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'll also be reacting to chapter 1045 on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Chef Rossi. I'll be doing that early when that comes out on Thursday, if they keep releasing them early on Thursday. But thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Let's go.